Good morning, everyone. I have something to share today that I did on New Year's Eve that is really, really embarrassing. And I also have steps to keep it from happening again. But before I do that, how is everyone doing today? It is a gray, cloudy, dreary day here. I was hoping for some sun. I like getting out in the morning sun if I can, but there's no sunshine here right now. So I haven't been able to do that. I'm not editing at this point. I will learn to do that a little bit later. So any bloopers are just bloopers. It's just me being human. I think a lot of people who aren't used to being in front of a camera would have bloopers, and I'm not going to worry about it at this point. I'm being real. This is the real me. So, but what happened and what I did on that day was I went over to a relative's house. It was probably mid-afternoon or close to mid-afternoon when I got over there, and we were sitting there chatting. The person he was on his laptop or iPad. He was playing some games, and he had a show on his television, something, a Netflix or something like that show. I'm not really sure what it was. I don't remember. He was kind of watching it while he was playing the games, and we were off and on chatting, and they have a couple of dogs, so I was paying attention to their dogs. So at any rate, I'd been there for about an hour. His wife was gone. She'd had a couple of errands to run, and I was kind of waiting for her to get back. I was hoping to say hi to her and have a little bit of a conversation with her too, because she's such a nice lady. I really love her. I love being around her, and she has a different perspective on some things than I do. So it's always interesting to get her insights on different things. So at any rate, he happened to look out the window. I'd been there about an hour at the time, probably. He looked out the window and he said, "Did you leave your lights on?" And I said, "I don't think so." So I went out to check. Sure enough, I had left my lights on. I don't recall ever doing that. Now, it's possible I did it when I was a lot younger, but I don't recall ever doing that. I had the key with me, so I started the car and I went back in and I said, "I'm going to leave it." And I rode down the passenger window because my car is a car that will lock itself. So I could have locked the key in. So I rode down the passenger window before I stepped out of the car. And I went back in. I said, I said, "I started." He said, he's a car guy. He knows a lot about cars. To my knowledge, he's never had any official training or anything like that, but he's learned a lot about cars throughout the years. And he said that he would not have started it. He said running it's not going to charge the battery like I wanted to get it charged, like I needed to get it charged. So, and when I started, it started kind of hard. It did not start. I had to hold the accelerator down a little bit longer. It started hard, like it was struggling to start. So I said, "Well, I'll get it on." I told him a particular route that I was going to go, and I said, "I will do that route a couple times." And it was probably about, round trip on that route would probably have been 17, 18, maybe even up to 20 miles. But there were a lot of stoplights and a lot of stop signs in that route. And he suggested a different route, which was a state highway route. And he said, "I would go this route, go down to this point, and turn the car around and then bring it back at that point." So that's what I ended up doing. Now, while I was driving that route, what I noticed, it was snowy. It was starting to snow. In fact, when I stepped out to start the car, it was starting to snow. And the wind was blowing. So I'm thinking, when I come back, there's going to be snow in the lower points of this highway, state highway. And there was snow in the lower points of that state highway. Not to the point where I wasn't willing to drive it or anything like that, but there was still snow. And I'm glad that this was going to happen. That happened at the time of day that it did, or possibly earlier would have been good too, but not later when that snow would have had more of a chance to accumulate over that highway. So that is the thing that I did that, again, I've never done it before, or if I have, I was much, much younger when I did it. I think what happened was my car beeps at me if I leave the lights on, leave the key in, it beeps at me. But I think what happened, the dogs were barking. And they have a dog that's probably about 60, 65 pounds, very muscular, and has a strong bark. And then they have a little yippy type dog. And between those two dogs barking, and I had seen him through the window, I knew he was there. I've come by a few times when they haven't been there, but I knew he was there. I think between the noise from the dog barking, my excitement in knowing that he was there, that I was going to get to talk to him, that, and then the noise of the car, I think it all just kind of blended together, and I wasn't paying enough attention. Also, I forgot to mention that his wife showed up just as I was walking out, and I asked her if she wanted to go for a drive. And she kind of laughed and said, no. She said, I've been gone for a while. I think I'll stay home right now. So, I would have loved to have had her company driving to that, doing the drive and turning around and coming back. But I did not get that, and that was fine. So what I'm going to do in the future is I'm going to pay closer attention. I'll take that extra 30 seconds, that extra minute in the car, and just make sure that everything's turned off, because I don't want to run my battery down. I don't want to have to get a jump start. I don't want to have to call a tow truck from someplace. I don't want any of those things to happen. So I will take that extra 30 seconds to that extra minute and do that. And this could happen to anybody. I mean, I know it happens a lot. I've seen it in parking lots where people have left their lights on or left something else on the radio. Well, the radio would probably turn off if you turn the car off, but they leave their lights on. Now, with newer cars, a lot of them, maybe all of them, automatically shut your lights off after a while. But my car is old enough that it doesn't do that. So, but that was my lesson. Number one, don't leave your lights on. Don't leave anything on that can bring your battery down. Number two, take that extra 30 seconds or that extra minute to just double check and see that your lights are not on, that you're not doing anything that can pull that battery down, which can leave you stranded later on in the day or the next morning type of thing. So I will have another video up next Thursday. I may have one up before then.